The Todd Starnes Commentary.
I got a phone call the other day from a chaplain's assistant in the Army. She asked not to be identified because she's afraid she may lose her job. She posted a message on her private Facebook page saying she believed homosexuality is a sin. The following day, she was summoned to her commander's office, told the posting was hostile and antagonistic. She was told to either take it down or face a reduction in pay and rank. You can read what she wrote on my website, toddstarnes.com. In essence, the Army is trying to punish a chaplain for holding orthodox Christian values. In this age of tolerance, Christian thought is not tolerated. I believe Ron Cruz of the Chaplain Alliance said it best. Just because a person wears a uniform does not mean they have to give up their religious liberties. Somebody should tell that to the Army. I'm Todd Starnes.
Amen, Todd Starnes. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. We return. Thank you to Dan the Mancilia. Financial Issues, 8 to 10 Central, right here, AFR Talk. And what you just heard, number one, you can understand it. It's in terms we can understand, and we see what's happening. And in essence, it sends the signal, government can't fix the economy other than get out of the way and provide certainty. I thought outstanding points all of knowing that, knowing what's going to happen next. Because economically, I'm still in the place 2008 fall where I haven't exhaled because you never know what's coming next. And we've seen a government, and specifically an administration, not respect the rule of law. You do that, and pretty much, as Hans von Spakovsky said last night, it destroys the foundation. It becomes about connections to government. People lose faith in it, and they are losing faith in it. And I'm not talking about faith as government the idol, though that's what statism is. The state becoming daddy, becoming God. By doing that, it's the faith in government that people will abide by the rule of law. And if they do not, they are held to account. Really important to understand that. A lot of times people say, what do you do first? These countries, you got to do, what do you do? First, establish the rule of law. First thing. And that will provide some degree of certainty, but it'll also help in the sense of property rights and a whole host of things. But you can't have infrastructure, you can't really have a government without the rule of law. Unless, of course, it's a dictatorship. And then the law is whatever the dictator says. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Speaking of dictators, President Obama last night on The Tonight Show. I believe history will look back at this time and say, all these scandals are going on, and he's going on The Tonight Show during a terror threat. He's not addressing the American people. He hasn't given answers. He's not getting somebody to ask follow-up questions. I mean, I think Jay Leno is almost better than Steve Kroft because Steve Kroft will allow his organization to hide something that will expose that the president was lying on an attack that left 4 Americans dead, including our ambassador in Benghazi, speaking to 60 Minutes. That said, the president was asked about the photograph at the last meeting between Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, and himself. And very uncomfortable. He was a very uncomfortable look, and Jay Leno was talking about that and referencing that. B2, roll it.
I mean, look at this picture here. You two, you look like me and the NBC executives. What is going on there? And that doesn't look like a friendly picture.
Well, you know, the truth is that when we have meetings, we can have some pretty blunt exchanges. Sure. And animated exchanges, but he's got, that seems to be his preferred style during press conferences, is kind of sitting back and not looking too excited. Now, part of it is, he's not accustomed to having press conferences where you've got a bunch of reporters yelling questions at you.
Why? Why is he not accustomed to that? He's murdered 10 journalists, or at least been accused of it. I mean, you want to look. This is a willful blindness that I've been speaking to. The idea that this man is a dictator, he doesn't share our values. The Cold War is not over to him. And they are not helping us in the greatest threat, and that would be Iran. In fact, they're helping the Assad regime, which is now a proxy state of Iran and Syria. It is bizarre to see how out of touch this man is. And I remember President Bush was accused, any conservative president is accused, semi-conservative president, conservative, semi-conservative, Republican, whatever you want to say. Fact is, they're always accused of being totally out of touch. That is totally out of touch. Right there, totally out of touch. Doesn't get it. Besides the fact that we continue to attempt to reset our relations by throwing our allies under the bus, specifically Poland, Czech Republic, and Israel. Big time. What about the people of Egypt? Well, the people that desire to be free are certainly thrown under the bus because we've embraced a terrorist organization in the likes of the Muslim Brotherhood. Reality. That's what we need. And yet, we don't get it. We don't get it from Jay Carney. Certainly not. This is Jay Carney being asked about the claim that the core of Al-Qaeda has been decimated. Roll it.
I think that we have numerous conversations in this room and around Washington and around the country about what we need to do continually as a nation to protect ourselves against the threat posed by terrorists who want to do us harm. And the fact that we continue to do those things demonstrates that the threat is real, and we have to be ever vigilant. So, again, as I said earlier, I don't think there's any fair reading of the efforts we've made in the fight against AQAP and other al-Qaeda affiliates.
But he rarely had those caveats that you're adding.
Again, I think that's...
He said on the run, he said they've been decimated.
There's no question
he didn't say their affiliates might get us.
Well, that's just not true. But al-Qaeda's core leadership, the leadership that attacked the United States on September 11th, 2001, has been decimated. Al-Qaeda core in the AfPak region has been greatly diminished and is on the run.
The current head of Al-Qaeda, Zawahiri, number 2, was Osama bin Laden's personal secretary, Awuhashi. That's his name. And what gets me about this is you say, okay, so the person closest to Osama bin Laden is now the number 2 of Al-Qaeda, and he's running Al-Qaeda Arabian Peninsula. That's what he's doing. He's running the operation that currently has the threat and was exercising the threat. So how can you say the core's been decimated? How can you say Al-Qaeda's on the run when 22 embassies have to be closed? How can you say that Al-Qaeda's on the run when Benghazi, and for that matter, in Egypt, the protest in Egypt, the black flag of Al-Qaeda flew over during that? As that was happening, we had Andrew C. McCarthy on the program talking about this, as well as Tom Jocelyn months later describing what had taken place. It's semantics, it's dishonest, sophistry, and unfortunately is what we get a lot of out of this administration. The president has a plan to close Gitmo. He's moving forward with that plan, and part of that plan is to release prisoners to the countries from where they're from. A lot of them from Yemen. Here's the president discussing that. Roll it.
Today, it's important for us as the leading
I once
economy
again call
in the
on
world.
Congress to lift the restrictions on detainee transfers from Gitmo. I have asked the Department of Defense to designate a site in the United States where we can hold military commissions. I'm appointing a new senior envoy at the State Department and Defense Department whose sole responsibility will be to achieve the transfer of detainees to third countries. I am lifting the moratorium on detainee transfers to Yemen so we can review them on a case-by-case basis. To the greatest extent possible, we will transfer detainees who have been cleared to go to other countries.
Not backing down from this. In fact, he's continuing it. He was asked about it. 28% of the detainees that have been released have returned to the battlefield. The current threat is emanating out of Yemen. Yet he's not going to stop this because he believes Gitmo's the problem. Willfully blind, and it has consequences. He continues to do these things. This is a big deal. If you don't even understand what drives your enemy, and in fact you are giving him victory after victory, PR, or in demonstrating strong horse, weak horse, which we've been talking about, you won't even identify them. You'll continue to call the largest attack on a military installation, military base in this country, Fort Hood, workplace violence, when the person who committed these heinous acts is declaring they are acts of terror in a war. This has consequences. This man is completely out of touch. And the more he does this, the harsher the consequences become. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk.